Kent Union Leadership Election Debates. Live from the pavilion here at the University of Kent's Canterbury campus. I am Karen Zagu. I am the editor-in-chief of Inquirer, the University of Kent student newspaper. That's our plug. And I will be your moderator for the evening. Tonight we're going to be seeing the final two leadership debates for Kent Student Union sabbatical roles. Originally, we were meant to have the VP Sports debates on Tuesday alongside the VP Welfare debates, but unfortunately, the beast from the east was relentless. So that was changed to Friday, and the blizzard persisted, and then that was canceled again. So today, we will be having these debates held tonight. We apologize for the wait, but all the candidates have been warming up away from the snow, pun intended, and raring up to what will be a fascinating night of discussion and debate. Remember, voting has already begun today, so polls close on Friday afternoon, so make sure you get to venue and cast your ballot. Later tonight, we will have the presidential debates, but for now, we're going to have the VP Sports debates, and the audience, I would like your help welcoming our VP Sports candidates. Let's have a round of applause. We have Emily Window, Aaron Fitt-Boyland, and Nadia McMillan. The format of tonight's debates is pretty straightforward. It's the same as the last two debates, if you saw those. Over the next 60 minutes, candidates will tackle questions and topics sent in by you and by Kent Union. They will be asked by the lovely Ago tonight, our presenter, and she will tell you more about that in a second and how you can get involved and ask questions to the candidates by submitting questions on the stream chat in just a moment. Also, our awesome studio audience is here today. Round of applause for yourselves, guys. Thank you for showing up. Ago, would you like to?
So if you have any questions, comment down below on our Facebook live stream. And now we're going to cut to candidate VTs.
My name's Emily Window and I'm running for Sports Vice President. The main point of my manifesto is to make sure that sports at Kent is a welcoming environment for all people and individuals. This means implementing zero tolerance policies towards homophobia, biphobia, transphobia and racial discrimination. Vote for me if you want to see sports at Kent bigger and better next year. I'm here for representation, facilities, getting your student voice heard throughout this year. So if you want to see sports as best as it can be next year, win with Window.
My name is Erin and I am running for VP Sports. My main point is inclusivity, so whether that's costs, social sports or you're part of a minority group, I want to make sure that sports is there for everybody. People should vote for just a change, so whether they want to see a change in sport or whether it's in Kent Union, they should vote so they can have a voice and have a chance to have a say. It's fit for sport.
My name is Nadia McMillan and I'm running for Sports VP. My main point is probably to get every student at Kent University more active, whether that being a sedentary student, someone in a sports club or a professional athlete already. I just want to get everyone more active, more involved in sport. Please vote for me, Kent students. I really want to make a difference to the sports in our amazing university we have. I want everyone out there to get more involved in sport. I want to make the sports teams better, more accessible to everyone at the university, not just the sports players. So please guys, let's hashtag Move with McMillan.
Hi, hopefully the show reel that we just gave to you guys gave you a little bit of an idea of the candidates standing in this election. And if you want to find out more about the candidates and their policies, you can go to the Kent Union website. I will give you the URL. It is kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections. So there you can check out the manifestos and policies of the candidates we have up here. So first, let's begin with a 1-minute opening statement from each of the candidates, starting from left to right. So first, Nadia, if you'd like to go.
Hi, so my name is Nadia McMillan. I'm currently in my third year at university studying sport and exercise sciences. Currently, I'm the Team Medway netball president. Yes, I'm from Medway. And I'm also Team Medway executive, which has given me some experience in like organising varsity, organising our sports awards, and speaking to senior members of staff, such as the Vice Chancellor, and sort of an array of board members in the University of Kent. A couple of my main manifesto points would be to increase physical activity throughout university. Whether you're in a sports team or you're just a normal student, you want to get more involved. I want to do like an e-newsletter to increase participation and give out some student-friendly recipes, things like that. Organise like a sort of part-time, full-time gym membership, so people don't have to go for the full-time gym and be a member of a sports club, have them like separately to reduce costs, and reduce various barriers in sport that we face, such as discrimination, LGBT, female exclusion, stuff like that, and just increase the promotion of sport across all different sports, whether you're in a big sports team or a smaller one.
Okay, perfect. That was right on time. Emily? Yep.
Good evening, my name is Emily Window and I'm running to be your next sports VP. I'm a final year ancient history student. I love my subject so much I actually went to Canada last year to study it in the freezing cold. I've been a member of Kent Dance and Music Society, performing in the university's concert band since my first year. I volunteered with the union as an international welcome helper and for the Blytheswood Shoebox Pit at Christmas, and I'm currently the publicity secretary for the trampolining team. I'm excited to announce that my 3 key manifesto points are: firstly, promoting sports teams as welcoming, inclusive environments to all students through implementing zero-tolerance policies towards discrimination and sexual assault. Secondly, supporting student committees who without their hard work and dedication throughout the year, sport at Kent would not be possible. And thirdly, making sport at university as accessible to as many students as possible, helping to reduce the cost of participation through implementing facility-only memberships and ensuring the voice continues to be heard on key issues such as this. Thank you again. I'm really looking forward to all of your questions and to show you how you can go to the window to the win next year if you'd like me to be your sports VP. Thank you.
Thanks. Erin, would you like to?
Hello, my name's Erin Frick-Boyland and I'm running to be your next VP Sports. I'm studying a degree in computer science, and during my time here I've been a part of multiple sports and societies. I'm currently the treasurer of the UKC Rowing Club, and I'm also my second year in committee of the Hogwarts Society this year into marketing. I've been a part of rowing in Hogwarts for my whole 3 years here at Kent, but over the past year I've joined the swimming club as a member, and I've also been a member of the Musical Theatre Society. I'm also a student ambassador for both the University of Kent and the School of Computing, and outside of this I've also lifeguarded for the past 6 years. My aim as VP Sports is to make sure that Sports Club is inclusive, whether that be tackling the issues faced by costs such as transport, or the equality in the teams so that all sports clubs can get behind each other, or to remove the pressure that is competing. Some of my key points in my manifesto are to create an access to competition fund to help cover the cost of competitions for all. I want to make all sports teams take part in the LGBT pledge, and not just those that take part in varsity.
Erin, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
That's fine.
Thank you. So we're gonna now get some questions from Ago. Ago, would you please like to?
What makes each of you the best person for the role?
Would you like to start, Nadia?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I've had a lot of experience in running a sports club, being president for our Team Medway netball team, and I was captain last year. Also as well, being in a smaller campus such as Medway, I understand the struggles that we face as students to maybe sometimes be seen in the shadow a bit. So I feel like a lot of smaller clubs at the university can sometimes get a bit neglected. And for that reason, I personally chose to become a Team Medway executive. So I've had experience in speaking to members and delivering what issues we face as a university. So I feel like that experience has enabled me to be confidently speak to these senior members and give feedback on what our students want. As well as this, I study sports science. I've always had a true passion for sport, and I know what it takes to make sports better and bigger, and that's what I want to do at the university. So I think that's what makes me perfect for the role.
Emily, would you like to?
So I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for my involvement in sports during my time at university. Being on a trampoline team, we're not the biggest team at Kent. The amount of people that said to me at Freshers Fair, oh, I didn't know we had a trampolining team, that's sort of been the story of my life for 2 years. So yeah, this is something that I'm really passionate about, is representation for smaller teams, and obviously Medway who struggle with this constantly. who are in the shadow of Team Kent a lot, not by their own fault, of course. But yeah, and I think I'm the best person for it because I understand a lot of the issues that committees and students face being on sports, the cost, representation, things such as barriers that prevent people from participating in sport, and I want to eliminate that completely and make it as easy for everybody as possible.
Erin?
Yeah, following on from Emily, I've been part of the rowing club for the past 3 years. It's been one of the main reasons what's kept me here at the university. It's been my home, and this year being on the committee, I've seen the issues that can have within a sports club, and I think I've been very outspoken about them, and I'd like that to be the case for all sports clubs. So I think I'd be one to shout for your sports club if I was elected.
Okay. Ago, do we have another question?
Yeah. What do you think are the biggest barriers for sports clubs, and how would you overcome them?
Personally, I'd say one of the biggest barriers in Kent that people face is the cost. I would say that the fact here with the whole sort of gym membership and your membership for the club, I find that completely outrageous because in Medway we don't have that at all. So if just say you are a hockey player and you're playing on a pitch, you shouldn't have to pay for a gym membership as well. And the fact that it's one massive payment at the beginning of the year or two huge payments as well doesn't really make sense for us students because everyone knows that students lack a lot of funds. So yeah, one way I've reduced that is I want to push in having these two separate memberships available and lowering the cost of general membership fees in sports clubs. And yeah, I'd say that is the main barrier that I want to come, but obviously a whole array of things come into that with the whole sexual harassment, LGBT, This Girl Can campaign, but yeah. There is a few, but that's the main one.
So going back to what you said about membership fees, and you said Medway doesn't have the sports society membership as well as the gym membership. How does it work at Medway, if you could?
So basically, I'll use my netball club as an example. We pay a membership fee that we want to use, and our gym is just seen as a separate thing. So if we want to become a member of the gym, which is in the same sports hall, we just pay for it completely separately. So, however, I'm not a member of that gym, so I only pay my netball fee. So just say the gym is £20 a month and our membership fees for netball is £70. So I just pay that £70 for the whole month. If I want to use the gym, I'll pay extra for it, but because I don't use it.
Right.
So.
Would you say that Emily and Erin, you also agree on those points about membership fees?
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't join a sports team in my first year because of the cost, and obviously it was an unexpected fee. Going around Freshers' Fair, they sort of explain the membership, but then you actually get hit with the gym membership as well, and then you sort of think, oh, maybe I can't do this. So definitely it's a huge barrier that can be taken down.
Yeah.
I also think the cost of competing is also a really big thing. So a lot of people can take part in the sport, but then it comes to the fact that they have to pay for entry fee, and then transport's an issue. The costs just add up every time you want to do something within your sport. So a lot of people will drop out because they can't compete or they can't afford to.
Yeah. So going on to transport, a few of you have points about reducing costs of transport, like minibus costs and etc. How would you, talk to the union about subsidizing those costs or managing that? Emily, would you?
So, from my experience, we tried to book a minibus for one of our trampoline competitions last month, and it was fully booked. All 3 minibuses, we couldn't get one. We looked into an outside hire, and we were quoted that at about £160. So completely unfeasible for us. So we all ended up taking our cars, which was not ideal. We wanted to arrive as a team. We wanted, to all be there together. And I think what the union could do to help is maybe helping to subsidise the cost, working with an outside company who can negotiate deals for when teams can't get minibuses, so that students don't have to fork out extra money just because the union haven't been able to provide something.
Yeah. Erin, Nadia, what have your experiences been?
Trying to get minibuses.
Yeah.
Really impossible. We're lucky in the sense that we train really early in the morning and no one else wants them. But if our races are all on weekends, so we haven't been able to get them for the past couple of races. So we've all been doing it through tow cars and all of us driving individually. So we're lucky that we use Ken Hire through the Kent Union, and they there's like a deal, and it's slightly cheaper, but it's still a lot more money than if we could rent one of the minibuses.
Yeah. And
I mean, we don't even have minibuses in Medway, so to us that's quite a big advantage that you guys have. But I think having 3 minibuses between the amount of sports teams that are here is just unrealistic. So I mean, I'd hopefully try and push to maybe get some more minibuses. I completely understand that you do feel a lot more disjointed as a team when you arrive separately, but I think the best way to try and do it is to get more minibuses perhaps, or if not, at least have more training days and stuff like that, so more people will be able to drive the minibuses, or yeah, those were your main points.
How would you support smaller clubs that are on campus?
Aaron? Oh, sorry. Aaron, yeah, please.
Smaller clubs that aren't on campus, so
That are on campus?
that are on campus.
Yeah.
I think it would just be to make sure they know who I am and how to approach me, and find out what their problems are and what they need just as much as what one of the bigger clubs would need, because they would be just as important as one of the other ones.
So I'm coming from a small team myself. Being the publicity secretary this year, I've given trampolining a social media presence. We've been interacting with other clubs because of that, but there's still more that the union could do to recognise us. And I feel like this is something that I'm very passionate about because I've experienced it. Obviously, you have sports like football and rugby, and people will always want to join them, but university is about trying something new and bringing people to these experiences. Why not try something new at university? You haven't had to done it for years to join it, and so yeah, I feel like more representation within Team Kent for smaller teams, and also those that don't do varsity. We've got so many clubs like mountaineering which just aren't represented at all. And it's a shame to let them fall by the wayside.
So, Emily, obviously talking about representation, could Nadia, you expand on how you think the union currently is failing smaller sports societies?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest issues that smaller sports clubs here face would be the sort of lack of promotion on it. So one of my ideas in my manifesto is to Facebook live stream some games. So I know through varsity a lot of teams start to do that, and where people could get more involved because more people will watch it and think oh, that would be a great idea. I know American football live stream their own games at the moment, but I think that will give university students a bigger insight into smaller clubs and what they're about and how they train and how they play. And also, maybe another little idea was KTV could do maybe a monthly interview or spotlight with some small clubs, because then people can sort of look at that and just get more of an insight to it, and think that because there's a lot more than the surface. I think with Kent Sport, there's so many different sort of teams that go on at the university that people just don't know about. So I think just increasing the promotion of these teams will get the word out more, and people will become more aware of them and maybe gain more members.
So you mean outside of varsity, just regularly?
Yeah.
Have you, out of curiosity, have you spoken to student media, or who would you want to be responsible? I mean, you did mention KTV.
Yeah, I would say KTV would probably be the first one I would speak to. I actually got that feedback from when I was speaking to a few of Team Kent's various teams, and especially a small team. I think it was tennis actually. And yeah, I think KTV would be a prime one because it's keeping it within the university, but then also people that may not be engaged with that will be able to see that through the Facebook live stream idea, which could be done through Team Kent's Facebook page.
Right. Do any of you have a comment on that? Or I was going to say, talking about coverage via student media. I'm curious about how you guys found, for example, this year's varsity coverage. Do you think that it was good? Did you like the coverage? Do you think there's improvements that could be made? The collaboration between student media and sports societies and representing them, promoting them. How do you think that could be improved?
I feel like obviously during varsity and the student media can't be everywhere. There's only sort of so much you can do. I think more collaboration maybe between publicity secretaries for teams. Giving them, if they can't be there for photos, videos and stuff, sending those on, piling them on, because you want to be visible to them, even if it means just sending in some of your own photos. at least you're going to get that representation. Doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want you guys to come, of course. Like, but yeah, I mean, it would have been great to have our varsity live streamed for trampolining. Like, it's such a great event and want something that not many people get to see ever. So, but yeah, it would have been good.
Oh, okay, so trampolining wasn't covered, and you think that was...
It was, we had Inquire, so we had like
Right.
photos and stuff, but no videography.
Gotcha. So you think that some of like the smaller clubs are being
Yeah.
unrecognized by
Yeah.
media? Okay, Erin?
I think trying to get some of the clubs that don't take part in varsity to just come down and support the other clubs would also be a good idea. So just they could also help with the promotion just as team spirit, because rowing don't get to take part at all in varsity because we don't have an opposition. So I think if we had all been encouraged to come down and just watch the different clubs, it would have given it a more promotion.
Yeah, and how would you do that? I mean, like as sports VP, you would...
Yeah, I think
encourage
the clubs need to work together. So I think we need to like either have some sort of like buddy system so we get to take part in each other's sports and just get to know each other better, because you always will come down and you'll support your friends, but if you don't know each other, you won't do that. So I think I'd want the clubs to make sure they knew each other and knew who and how to take part.
Yeah. Aga, have you got a question?
Topic of varsity. Varsity and Team Kent, the ball has remained the same over the last few years. Why do you think that is, and do you think there needs to be more variety in sporting events on campus?
Is it the Team Kent Ball, sorry?
Yeah.
I think that would be something that I would quite like to focus on. I think in a way it's a bit unfair that just the committee members get to go to Team Kent Ball, because I feel like it should be an event that everyone, all the sports players get to share together. I understand that there is a lot of sports players here, so it would be impossible to do it in one big event. But I just think there should be like maybe just the committee one and then separate it into certain sports, just to get everyone more involved, and it can be more of like a social space for everyone that every sports player can enjoy. And that way it will create better links between the teams as well, because you'll be interacting with people that aren't just in your team or aren't just in your club. If that makes sense.
Anyone else?
So in my second year, when the Team Kent Ball was in Elliot, we had a table of 10. So we managed to get all of our committee and a couple of members to come along as well. This year, I believe it might be in the sports hall, I think, which is obviously a bigger venue. I think it would be great to have, obviously, committee, but also I know it's hard to pick your team who are going to come, but at the same time, it would be nice to celebrate with as many people as possible. And obviously, the Team Kent Ball goes on to venue afterwards. You know, it's not just the sit-down meal that you have. So yeah, I mean, this year we're within my team, we're going to have as many people there as possible. And then obviously everybody is welcome to come. So I feel like the Team Kent Ball, maybe I mean, if you're not getting colours, sometimes it can feel a bit mute, but it's still nice to be there with your committee as well.
Erin?
Yeah, the Team Kent Ball, we've always brought a few extra club members from rowing just because we've had the opportunity to. But I know that other sports clubs do different balls throughout the year, and I think they're really nice events. So I believe that sailing and windsurfing had one this weekend that was a charity event, and that rowing was invited to it, and so were some other clubs. As well as I think rugby does one last term, so I think there is balls out there. I think they just need to be more encouraged to be put on by each club, so everyone can then go along and invite and be a part of it.
Right. We spoke about venue. I'm going to go back to that. Nadia, in your manifesto, you talked about recognition for committee members and sports players. So, for an example, free entry into venue.
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe unfair to other people in other societies that aren't sports societies or aren't a part of sports?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you're doing things that are extracurricular activities, obviously all your efforts should be recognised. And of course, if it was just targeted to sports, I can understand why other society members would consider it to be unfair. But I feel like it technically should be applied to everyone. I mean, maybe I could get on board with the activities VP, and then it could be done for societies as well. But I just think that, like I said, doing extracurricular activities, it does take out a lot of time, And a lot of, like me myself being a committee member and a lot of other committee members that I've spoken to, feel as if they do not get enough recognition, and free entry to venue was just like one example of it. So I was speaking to another sports club the other day saying how committee members could maybe get like a free permit on campus, like when they have like match days and things like that, and if it would be possible, have it to sports players as well. So it's the sort of free entry to venue was just one example of things they may be able to get just for some recognition.
Erin, what do you think of that? Do you think that's a reasonable reward?
I do think we should have a little bit more recognition. Like the work we put in is a lot, but I think maybe it'd be like a one-off event or something.
Yeah.
Or something termly would be maybe more achievable slightly.
Yeah. So do you have a more?
It may be like, well, you suggested the free venue night, but maybe just have it like once a term you get the entry for free instead of every time you want to go.
Do you think that there's a more there's a better way that we can reward society committee members or sports players now?
I mean, I think there are lots of ways to incentivize people, reward people. I mean, things like vouchers for essentials.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily everybody who's on a committee drinks and will go out sort of enough to benefit from just a free entry somewhere. So I think, yeah, vouchers for essentials, maybe like a free library coffee, stuff like that. Stuff that isn't going to make people feel like they're missing out too much by not being on a committee.
Right. Yeah. Aga, do you have a question?
How would you implement online banking when that's been on other people's manifestos for so many years and nothing's changed?
And also, can you explain what you mean by online banking? Erin, would you like to start?
So currently we can't see our bank accounts. You have to go into the Student Activity Centre and ask for a copy of all your transactions, and then if you want to pay for something you have to forward your invoice on and then they pay on your behalf. And it's just a really slow process, so it's not like on the fault of them, but for us it'd be a lot easier if we could just pay them straight away instead of, can you send us an invoice and can you just and then pass it on, and then they'd be like a week later they'd be like, okay, now it's been paid. So it'd just be much easier and much quicker for us to get things paid on time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very complicated process and it takes absolutely ages. I think some ways that it can be improved right now is having live balances. So, because currently if you go to the SEC, sometimes your balances aren't necessarily like in real time, they're not up to date, there's still going to be payments that have to be taken out and that you don't necessarily factor in. So having a live balance will really help that. It will give you an accurate reading of what you've got in your account. Also the payment, the website payment at the moment is just absolutely terrible. You have to scroll through a whole list of things that aren't relevant to you in order to pay for things. Online banking will also help see who has bought what. So if people have bought kit, if they've bought competition fees, things like that, they've paid into your account, you'll be able to see clearly. At the moment we have no idea who's bought what, and we just have to ask people and sort of take their word for it. So it's really difficult at the moment and a lot can be improved.
Nadia, the online banking wasn't in your manifesto. Do you have any thoughts on, I guess, the process for like improving, handling, payments?
I mean, I understand it is a massive issue. Like, I've got lots of friends that play for teams in Canterbury and they face this. I've seen the massive list they have to scroll through, and it is a massively impractical way of doing things. I didn't put it on my manifesto because I'm not a software genius, and I know that if I did go into that, I wouldn't be able to fix it myself. So I didn't want to put it on there and then someone call me out on it and be like, oh, there's nothing I could have done really. But I think there definitely needs to be an easier way of doing it, because the way it's being run at the moment is so complicated. But I think I would personally need to sit down with someone who was in charge of the website and think of a simpler way to do things.
Right. Have Erin and Emily, have you thought of that? Who would,
we've got a lot of these
administer that
on campus already. Things like web developers, we've got marketing teams and stuff that can help us fix that. In terms of online banking, I know quite a few other universities do it. I think Sussex maybe do it. I think I need to double check that. But yeah, so there is a feasible way of doing it, definitely.
Cool. Aga, do you have any questions? I can do one if you.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
How can you make sports more accessible to all, particularly those who have chronic pain or can't get involved with high intensity activities?
Emily?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is about sort of making sure our facilities can accommodate everybody. So whether that's in the gym, helping them to, if we have people in sports teams who specialise in, so in the men's rugby team, for example, they have a specialist who deals with their fitness and their nutrition, and so they're the most knowledgeable people about injuries and things like that. One thing I do have in my manifesto is physiotherapy discounts, because at the moment, if you have a bronze membership, so you're already suffering because you can't afford the gold membership, you have to pay more for your physiotherapy, and obviously you can't afford to keep playing on these injuries, so reducing the cost of that will reduce the amount of people who are potentially injuring themselves more just by trying to participate in sport.
Nadia, do you?
Yeah, so obviously at the moment I'm a sports science student, and in Medway we have sports science and sports therapy. They're basically really closely linked. And being a sports science student, I'm allowed to get free sports massage, rehabilitation and injury assessment. So I was speaking to my sports coordinator, and at the moment we've managed to get, for Team Medway players, a free sports massage and injury assessment. So basically all the therapy students came to our student hub and did an injury assessment or massage on all of our players for the sports teams, and it was all completely complimentary. So one of a big points in my manifesto is to try and allow Team Kent to have the same. So if you did have an injury, you could get the free shuttle bus down to Medway, get our sports therapy students to give you a free assessment, because they need the hours, so it helps them as well. They'll be able to see where your injury is, and they give you a training programme to stop that injury and make it better. So I think that would be a massive help to people who may be scared to start sport because of various different injuries they have.
Erin, I'm going to have you address this, and then we're going to have questions from the floor.
Okay, I think that, yeah, I do agree. I think having a person that can address your injuries and help, and making that accessible to people, would mean that those with previous injuries could take part in sport, as well as maybe having a social membership, so that if they weren't feeling able to take part in sport one week, they didn't lose out in costly effects. Would also be a way of doing it.
Okay. We're going to take questions from the floor. Does anyone have a question? Yes, you?
Hi guys, so I'm the social sec of Quidditch, and over the past few years, so I'm social sec this year, but this has been a problem which has been going on for a while now. And it's not just limited to Quidditch, but other societies who have elements of sport and are essentially sporting societies, but are relegated as, you know, special interest societies, so Quidditch, scuba, stuff like that. How do you think you will make sure that you broaden the criteria for a sports society and allow societies like us to have access to all of this around us? Because at the moment, Quidditch has to be conducted off campus. We don't have storage facilities or even a proper pitch to train on. So, but we do go for national competitions. So, you know, how, as you know, a possible VP sports, would you solve this as an issue?
I think I'd try and find out, talk to you as a club and find out what you needed, and then work with it and find out what the issues were and why you weren't being allowed access onto these facilities. Like, I think if you want to be considered a sport, you should be considered a sport, and that would be taken in. I would take that very much into consideration, and therefore try and get you the facilities that you need and the places that you need it.
There's a lot of people are in the same boat. For example, like Kent Dance, who, you know, these people say dance is obviously a sport, but they aren't recognised by the university as a sports team. They're a society. So because of that, they can't use things like the fitness, like the dance studio in the sports centre, which would be massively helpful because they've got huge mirrors in there, which would just be great for them. So therefore, it would be a case of, you know, if elected, definitely working with Kent Sport to try and, you know, get you storage and help you use the pitches and stuff, even if that's through the facility-only membership. It would help give you guys a space to train. I haven't seen you guys doing Quidditch yet. I look forward to that every year, but it's always great. But yeah.
Nadia?
I think at the moment there's quite a lot of spotlight on the big sports teams at Kent, which is obviously absolutely fine. They have the big members, everything like that, whatever. But there's a lot of students on campus that would be interested in joining Quidditch, and a lot of smaller clubs that didn't even know exist at the moment. So I think once we increase the promotion of these clubs, the sort of Kent Union and Kent Sport will be like, okay, well, clearly people are interested, people are engaged, what can we do to accommodate them? And I think that all comes under a big umbrella. So once we increase the promotion of it, more people will want to get involved, and then that will give the sort of union a bigger incentive to push Kent Sport and figure out where we can get these facilities for you guys to train.
So talking about how some societies fall under this weird like in-between area where they're not a sports society, or but they're kind of a sports society and not. So like lesser supported groups sometimes receive like less funding. How would you sort of justify that, or how would you look at the concerns those societies might have that they're not receiving equal treatment?
I think a lot of the sports clubs that I've spoken to a lot of them have agreed that the sort of funding is unfair, and even the big sports club have said, yeah, we get a lot of funding that sometimes maybe should be divided into the other clubs.
Could you give an example?
Yeah, so for example, I know like netball get a lot of money, but obviously they do a lot of fundraising as well, and a lot of people think that rugby get a lot of money as well, but sometimes these big sports clubs can be put under scrutiny a lot for getting all this money, but at the same time, because they have a lot of members, they do a lot of fundraising on top of that. So a lot of people's feedback have said rugby get loads and loads of budget set to them, which obviously they do get a bit of a bigger budget because they have more members, but they do a lot of fundraising, so a lot of their money is coming from that fundraising. But in order for it to be a bit more fair, I would say maybe look at the amount of members per club, and also the amount they train, their competition levels, just to ensure that if people are competing like nationally, or they're competing against other universities, then they should have the budget to be able to do so and not feel like threatened by the lack of money they have.
Anyone else have a comment on that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of variables that influence the amount of funding that a team gets. For example, members, equipment, and also coaching, which is a big thing. And all of those can change year by year. For example, we had 10 members this year and we've gone to about 30. Yay. So yeah, but unfortunately the price of our coach stays the same. So we rely on our memberships for that, and the funding that we get from the union only covers our coaching, and any money from memberships literally goes to our coach. So it would be great to have more funding so that we can actually develop and actually get some leotards and kit, things that we need to compete in. And a lot of clubs that I've spoken to have felt like that. For example, and everything changes between clubs. It would have to be a case-by-case basis where you look into each club and they can fill out, their rough expenditure for the year because of their coaching fees. It's all different. I mean, fencing have a world-class coach, so the levels of that are different, whereas lacrosse don't have a coach, they have to teach themselves. So it's all different for everybody, and I think it would be best to look into it case by case.
Okay, can we, another question from the audience,
I
please.
play ultimate frisbee, and a lot of the time we feel like we're a very sort of left out, forgotten team because we're small and it's an unknown sport, it's a new sport, and we sometimes feel that like we've got all these fields out here, but even though we are a sports team, so similar to Quidditch, we actually have to go down and play on the Beverley Meadow, but we've got all this space up here, and it's a field sport, but all I ever seem to see playing on here is football and rugby. Is there anything you can do about trying to get the smaller teams a bit more sort of space, or just essentially more on the spotlight?
I mean, I think so. Like, it's sort of. Well, I think all teams should be treated equally in the eyes of Kent Sport and Kent Union. So therefore, I see absolutely no reason why I can't negotiate for all teams to have a fairer allocation of pitches and grass areas for you guys to train. It's unfair that you guys have to go off campus all the way to Beverley Meadow, isn't it? Yeah. And it's difficult because people won't have as much incentive to join your club if they find out that you train off campus. It's usually a lot more hassle, so that puts off participation. So if you train on campus, that will help increase your membership and in turn benefiting you a lot more.
Erin, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if we can get you on campus, people will see your sport and know that it exists. Like, you are very around when it comes to Freshers' Fair, and we see you and you play frisbee in the middle of the fields, and I think that helps. But I think as soon as it gets to term time and you're asked to go off, people don't see your sport, and I think that's going to have a negative effect. And as someone that wants to be VP Sports, I would aim to try and get you on campus just to improve your participation.
I think as well, like from Kent Union and Kent Sports side, even if you guys were to have like one training session a week and you wanted to like train on this field like even once a week, surely there must be a time that you can allocate for like an hour or 2 hours. So I'd really push on that, just because
We do get given the 3G, but a lot of the time when playing frisbee, it gets really intense and you have to dive out on the floor.
Yeah.
It's not like, say, like hockey or something, which can suit that a bit better because it's less likely you're going to be trying to dive for a flying disc.
Yeah.
So like, to be able to move our session on the Tuesdays, which we have on there, onto something that's not going to completely rip up your legs, would be much preferable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, there's always, if you want to just have training at least once a week, there surely must be a spare couple of hours to put you guys in somewhere where you can properly train, where it can be on campus.
Ago, do you have another question?
What would be your three main priorities when improving sporting facilities at Medway?
So yeah, sorry, feedback. Just three.
Right. The first one would be a sports hall. So the one that we're playing on at the moment, 3 people have sprained their ankles in the 3 years that I've been there. So I really do not understand how it's still safe. But there we go. So sports hall would have to be one. I've spoken to one of the directors at Kent Sport about it already, and they said that there's a rifle range next to our current sports hall owned by Greenwich. So there's basically a campaign at the moment called Fit for Purpose, which anyone watching, please sign the pledge. So that's basically trying to get that basically like free area to put a brand new sports hall there, because where we're training at the moment is so unsafe. It's not even Bucks accredited, so we can't even play our matches there. Second one to improve facilities at Medway would be to actually improve the transport links. So as a tiny campus, we understand that we can't have 3D pitches, we can't have a massive field in the middle because we're an urban campus apparently. So I'd say increase the levels of transportation, because at the moment we're completely left to do it ourselves. The third reason would be to, I mean, the sports hall needs to be done, to be honest. That's the main concern, and the transport that everyone has. We know we can't build these massive pitches on our campus, so the transportation and the new sports hall would be my only 2.
Can I just get a couple comments from you guys about how you'd support Medway, of course, and the new facilities, and then I want to ask another.
So at Medway there are about just over 20 teams, I think it is. So it's, you know, less than half of what we have here. I'd love to encourage students at Freshers' Fair to start their own societies and get the funding for that. So if somebody from Medway, say, wanted to start an ultimate frisbee team, which they don't have, like encouraging them to do that. You know, there's not just what's there that's on offer. There's so much more, and all student societies are started through student initiative. So making sure that people feel like they can be the one to start that. And also, yeah, transport links is a big thing. A lot of people have talked in these elections have talked about improving the shuttle bus to like half an hour and stuff like that, so that people can get home.
Aaron?
Yeah, no, I agree. The shuttle bus was brought up to me that it leaves on the hour and people get stuck here when they want, and that's because they can't play their sports over at Medway. So I do think that needs improving, as well as a better relationship between the Medway students and the Kent students, so they can feel like they can come up here and play sports.
If you guys could all explain in about 2 minutes, tops, your final closing statement explaining for the last time why you should be elected as VP of Sport. Let's go from right to left. Aaron, would you like to start?
I first-hand know the impact that sports can have on a university experience. Kent is my second university, as the lack of opportunity and engagement at sport at my first led me to drop out. I want everyone that wants to play sport to have the chance, and therefore to be an approachable trustee in Kent Union that all sports clubs feel that they can rely on and put their needs first, and I think I could be that person. If elected as your next sports PP, I want to work with you to fix the small issues, and with this, I think the big issues will fix themselves. My manifesto is written around the feedback I believe that from talking to students and sports clubs at both campuses, as well as my own experiences from being a part of the committee. I promise that I'd work my hardest to ensure that a change in Kent sport over the next year, so we can all take part when and how we want, but also feel safe when doing so. I'd like to wish the candidates also running the best of luck this week, and remember to vote Erin FB for Sports VP.
Thanks. Emily?
So thank you to everybody who made this possible, and thank you for coming out even though it was delayed by a week, so I'm really sorry that we couldn't speak then. It's been great to talk about what I want to do in order to make sport at Kent better next year. This is something I'm truly passionate about, and I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for my sporting experience at Kent. Having not been able to join a sports team in my first year and then to do this in my second year, and then going across to Canada for my year abroad, I went with that knowledge of how a sports team can impact me, which is why I joined the Recreational Dodgeball League. If I didn't have that knowledge, I wouldn't have enjoyed my year abroad so much. So it's these experiences that really change our university experience and open us up to new ideas, and meet new friends, communities, and just have so much more engagement with the way in which we live our lives at university. So yeah, I'd like to wish best of luck to you too as well. And yeah, just to reiterate the focus of my manifesto, I will work tirelessly next year to ensure that sports teams are safe, welcoming environments for all students, no matter who you are. Student committees can run efficiently with increased support from the unions, such as mental health support and updating the way in which committees go about their day-to-day running of the club, such as through online banking. And thirdly, making sure that sports are as accessible to as many people as possible, because taking part in sports shouldn't put students deeply out of pocket. Those are just, of course, a few of the things that I will strive to work for next year, and I hope to have shown you how you can go to the window to the win next year if you elect me to be your next Vice President of Sports. Thank you.
Thanks. Nadia?
So yeah, I think we've covered a broad range of points today, and obviously my manifesto explains all the rest of mine. I'm so keen to be Kent's next Sports VP. I've played sport my whole life at uni, and I'm studying it in my degree. I've clearly got a massive passion for it, and I believe that I've got the voice to be able to deliver like things that we want to change and things that we want to improve on to senior members of staff, so we can actually address these issues and fix them rather than making false promises. Like I said, my main manifesto points, I want to get more people involved in sport, because I think it really does make a massive impact on our mental health. The Mind charity actually say their number one thing to like improve your mental health is physical exercise, so I want to introduce it to a much broader range of students. I want to lower the costs that all of our students face when participating in sports, because at the moment it is outrageously high, and someone should feel as if they can enjoy sport whatever, no matter what the cost is, and reduce all the barriers that come with sports and increase promotion across Kent University. So Kent, let's move with Macmillan and vote for me as your next Sports VP.
Okay. Thank you guys. Let's have a round of applause from the audience for our lovely candidates. So thank you all for being here. I want to give a huge thank you to the audience, of course, for also being here. Clap, clap, clap. So polls are open now, so vote for your favorite candidates. Before Friday afternoon, you can go to Venue to cast your ballot. Coming up next is the big debate, the presidential debate, and it is Rowena versus Erin, to make it sound like a match. And it is also live, so tune in for that. We will be right back after this break. See you then.